Hi, my wonderful viewers out there. Welcome to my channel. I appreciate the fact that you have actually taken the time to come here to listen to what I have to say to you. And I believe at the end, you will be blessed, you will be encouraged. Okay, tonight I want to speak to us a bit on the topic encouraging yourself. And I think that this is very fitting in this day and age with all the protocols, the COVID protocols and guidelines that we are to follow. It means that we are unable to socialize as effectively as we would want to, or the way that we would socialize before. I mean, we have, a lot has changed, okay? A lot has changed. Maybe you are very disappointed at somebody's action, somebody you would expect better from when it came to you, and it's a different ball game altogether. So what do you do when you feel that way? Or somebody passes you on the street and reacts a certain way, and it has you a bit baffled at why that behavior. So what do you do? What do you do in those times? Or maybe you are at home, you are in isolation, or you're in quarantine and you're by yourself, and you keep looking at the phone and nobody's actually reaching out, or the people you actually want to hear from, you are not hearing from them. So what do you do in those times? Do you know what you do? Well, David is going to help us. Yes, King David is going to help us answer that question. So let's turn our Bibles to First Samuel chapter 30. If you don't have a Bible, it's okay. I'm going to paraphrase what is there. So in verse 1, chapter 30, David and his men returned from the battle to Ziklag, only to discover that the city had been burned down with fire by the Amalekites. Now, the Amalekites had taken a number of the women captive. So many men lost their wives and their children. David, being one of these men, he lost his wife and his children. Now, you would think that in the midst of that situation, that they would put their heads together, and come up with a plan as to how they would overcome this challenge. But in verse 6, we are told, and David was greatly distressed, for the people spake of stoning him, because the soul of all the people was grieved, every man for his sons and for his daughters. But David encouraged himself in the Lord his God. So, what I really want to highlight here is the fact that David encouraged himself in the Lord when he could find it from nowhere else. He decided to do it for himself. He encouraged himself in the Lord. In Psalm chapter 138 and verse 8, that's the New Living Translation, states, as soon as I pray, you answer me. You encourage me by giving me your strength. It was the Apostle Paul in Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 19. He encouraged us to speak to ourselves. He said, speak into yourselves in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, making melody in your heart to the Lord. And just a verse before that, he told them, do not be drunk with wine wherein is excess, but be filled with the Spirit. So I'm telling you, do not be drunken with discouragement. Don't walk around with your head down or feeling, all gloomy because somebody did not reach out to you. Instead, you speak to yourself in psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs. You make melody in your heart unto the Lord. Now, how do you encourage yourself? One of the ways you can do so is by speaking life. Remember in my last video, I said speak to your situation? Then now you're going to speak to yourself. Speak to yourself. Speak to your soul. Just the psalmist David who said, bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me, bless his holy name. Sometimes you have to command different parts of your body to bless the Lord. You can read and meditate on the word of God, not just reading it as if it's a storybook, but you really, like the cow would chew on its food and send it down to its belly and it would come back up and it would, like it would regurgitate the food and just it's just there, just savoring every bite. That's what you're going to do with the Word of God. Now, one of the things that worked for me in the past was getting certain scriptures that applied to my situation, writing it out on construction paper, and sticking it on the wall. If you were to come to my washroom right now, you will see little remnants of that. You would see Yes, some of the writings are fading away. So every time I would come to the toilet, I wouldn't have the time to worry or to be burdened because right there staring me in the face would be the word of God. You can do that. I have a friend, and I know when she listens to that video and she looks at it, she will smile. She used to actually stick it on her bedside, on her bed, at her bedside. I mean, they would be like all over, stuck all in her bed head and all of that. So it would be right there in her face. Whatever means necessary, you encourage and stop isolating yourself. I know that right now, with all the restrictions, we cannot socialize as much as we would like to. But pick up the phone. I mean, why wait to be called? Why not just take the initiative and call? There must be someone you can interact with over the phone. I'm not asking anybody to go and gather and throw a party at your home. That's not what I'm saying. Okay? Of fellowship. There are different ways of fellowshipping. And above all, cast your cares upon the Lord, for he careth for you. So, child of God, speak to yourself in psalms, hymns, spiritual songs. Okay, make melody in your heart to the Lord and encourage yourself in the Lord. Do you hear me? What did I say? Encourage yourself in the Lord.